everybody, my name is Sherry. Welcome to my stamp studio. It's been a minute since I recorded. If you purchased from me in, let's see, August, then I did record my VIP video projects this week. So that's the only thing so far I've recorded, which is unusual for me during a work week. But I had pre-recorded, so I have had stuff going up. Who knows what I said about the weather and things. In fact, I think a couple of times I may have recorded and this catalog wasn't live yet, but it got posted this week and the catalog was live. But we had a wedding, and then this week I knew that I would be busy working on my Try It class. So if you have registered for a Try It class, it should be in the mail middle of next week, which by the time this posts, that means it may be in the mail to you very soon. So the middle of October is the goal. I'm not sure of the dates. I don't even know what today is. Probably around I don't know. Around Wednesday of not whatever week I'm filming now. Today is Friday, so Wednesday of next week. I hope that these videos go up like on the weekend or Monday, Tuesday. But I had my in-person camp, and so a couple of these projects I've just cleaned up from, so I want to get them recorded before I put everything away. And then I'm going to go back to making packets for Try It. And then also for those of you that have signed up for the Oh Holy Night, I didn't know when I picked that to be my other online class for September. It's going to be pushed a little closer to October, that there would be some inventory issues with it. You'll get an email. You will have gotten an email about that. If you're still interested, I am still taking registrations since it'll be a minute before everybody gets all of their pieces for it. And that class will actually, since it's online, it'll start sometime early-ish October by the time everybody gets all their stuff and I get the videos made. But all of that is in the mini catalog. The two projects I have from camp, I think there's two that I'm going to film. This one and another. I don't think any of the stuff, at least while I'm filming, is at all affected by inventory issues. That's why I chose them. So today I'm going to use Graceful Deer. This is just a standalone stamp set. It uses one of my very first, I have been stamping for 30 years. It uses one of my very favorite stamping techniques. Super simple, doesn't take a lot. I'm going to use a texture folder, but you don't have to use it. So if you're a beginning stamper, you can do this. Really, I mean, it takes this stamp set, one stamp pad, and some watercolor pencils, which will last you forever. And that is really about it. So it's a really pretty card. And the nice thing is it can be a Christmas card, or it can be, you can color it differently. You could color this as dirt, and it could be a summer birthday card if you have somebody you want to give it to in the summer. So it will cover the gamut for men, for women, for Christmas, for winter, or you could color it for fall. So it really is a multi-purpose card. So I'm going to start here with a piece of vanilla cardstock. It's a very large stamp, so I should get a piece of scrap paper. I cleaned off my desk because when you haven't stamped and you're working on classes, if you don't know this, then it kind of becomes the catch-all for everything I bring upstairs. Like when we're done with cutting for one of the projects, I just kept laying stuff here because it was an open space. It was no longer open. So I just moved everything out of the way, but I also moved my scrap paper. So this is a piece of vanilla. It's a little bit larger than what we're going to need. Now I'm going to use vanilla, and you saw black as my base color. The options are endless, what you could start with this card, but I wanted to use this ribbon, which is how I ended up using my choices. I also had considered using this ribbon. So if you want to go winter with the card, this would be a really pretty choice. And I also thought about having navy as my background and making this my ribbon. So you can see if you want to go winter, or if you want to go kind of Christmassy winter, it just is all about the choice. I think if I was going to do navy, I'd still do the vanilla. If I was going to use this, I probably would have used a white cardstock as a background, just a little bit more snowy. This kind of keeps it a little bit more of the country feel. And then I'm not going to use black for my ink, which I know I'm using this as my base, but I didn't want it to be so super stark. So I'm going to use Pebbled Path, which is still a dark ink, and it stamps beautifully. So I'm just going to ink this whole thing up. It's nice. I didn't clean it after camp, so it's already got some Pebbled Path on it. Why wash all that ink down the sink When I have a dark ink like this on a giant stamp, I wash it first in the sink. There's no sense in getting your chamois covered in Pebbled Path, because washing all that off, it's just going to get your chamois dirty. And then this is larger than what it's going to need to. Well, I've just got some Pebbled Path apparently on my finger somewhere, and now it's on the card. So I'm just going to put this on here. It's larger than I need it to be. And then this has a nice shape to it, so it's kind of easy to see where it's going to end up. And then I'm going to trim my cardstock to fit my card, but it does require that I stand up because it's big. And I just want to make sure that I get everywhere. If you have a Stamparatus, you can use your Stamparatus. Make sure you get right here in the middle, because sometimes when you use two hands, that part right there, you notice how your hands go, right there kind of gets missed. There's other ways you can do it. You can do it this direction if you want and put your card on there. I just like to do it that way, because then I can kind of make sure. Sometimes when you do it this way, you can press the paper into it and it gives it a shadow. I don't want that. So now we have this. I'll trim it all up and make it kind of even. Then I'm going to use, this is the new set of watercolor pencils, and the reason I went with it, it already looks well loved. It was new in this year's catalog because it has two browns. It has the pecan pie and the early espresso, and I want two browns for this card because obviously we have deer and trees, and we have 3 deer, so we need to have lots of variations of brown. So I am going to, let's just start with the things that are easy. My sweater is new and it's shedding. I keep having little sweater fuzzies everywhere. So this is real red. I'm just going to add a little bit of red to my bird here. Kind of wanted it to be a blue bird, but there's very limited colors in this card. When I use my watercolor pencils, I do press hard, and I am going to use a blender pen at the end, so it'll have a double whammy. And then let's go ahead and do our blue sky. So this is just blue. If you have the other set, it is balmy blue. This one just says blue. I'm going to lay my pencil on its side, and I'm just going to fill in blue. And my particular table has these slats cut into it, and when I lay on my side, I like to make sure I don't color on those, because otherwise it just digs right down into it. We have the cicadas singing along with us because my windows are open. There's all of our sky. I'll make sure you get all these places down in between trees. I think I got it all. Sometimes when you go back and use your blender pen, you're like, oh, I missed that whole area. Then I'm just going to take a little touch of white on my vanilla. You don't need a lot. But this time I'm going to go this direction and just add a little bit of white. And you really have to kind of twist and turn the card to even see it, so don't spend a lot of time. But it does catch in the light, and it just kind of gives a little bit of snow. If you don't want to snow, if you want it to be a different season, you can color it green. You could color it brown for dirt. But like I said, there's a lot of brown in this card. Okay, now we have our deer. So in this particular set of pencils, we have a black, we have a gray, and then we have the pecan and the espresso. So I want all 3 of my deer to be a little bit different colored. So I'm going to start with this one here and start with espresso. And remember, this is Pebbled Path. And see, it looks kind of gray because Pebbled Path is kind of gray. It's a gray with a tinge of brown. So I'm going to start, and I'm going to put my espresso on the Pebbled Path. Okay, that's all got Pebbled Path on it. Now I'm going to go just a fraction out. I want to keep things like her tail white, and I want to keep parts of her white, so some of it's not going to get any pencil at all. And you can see I'm pressing pretty hard. But I'm going to kind of just go in a little bit now with the espresso. It kind of keeps you from doing too much when you color like this. So that's good. And now I'm going to add some basic gray pencil. And with it, I'm going to go just like half in, maybe. Not even quite half. And then up here around where I didn't get any. So I'm over going like half on some pebble or espresso and then into the white. But again, not all of it, because I do want her to have a little bit of vanilla left on her. So when we use that blender pen, these colors will mix. So she's good. Now let's go over here, and I'm going to start with the pecan. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put the pecan on the pebbled path. And now I'm going to take my espresso, and I'm going to do espresso and the pecan. So this time it's half and half. A pecan and espresso. Again, leaving some white areas because this is another girl deer. Okay, now let's go over here, and I'm going to do my pecan on the pebbled path for this buck. And now I'm going to take my gray, and I'm going to do the gray with the pecan. And then I'm going to take my black, and on his little horns here, I'm just going to ever so slightly draw a little bit of color in those. I'm going to take my pecan. I'm just going to add some color in my trees. Now remember, I didn't use a waterproof ink, so the pebbled path is going to smear just a little bit. It's going to move some of that ink around, especially in these areas where there's a lot of ink on it. So it's also going to shade a little bit into the pecan. But by doing this light here, even though we've used the same color of watercolor pencil several times, it'll look just a little bit different than our deer. Okay, now let's grab our blender pen. Pulled out a couple of different ones. You want to make sure that you have a good one. I'm going to start with my blue because I don't want my blue sky to have any brown in it. I'm just going to go the same direction. I'm going to try to get really close to the tree, but I don't want to get brown in it, so I'm not going to grab. It can look like a painting. It doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, once you're done with the blue, and you can take your time if you want, you can get a little bit closer to all of this. I'm okay with it looking like a painting. And like I said, I'm going to run this through a folder. Now I'm just going to real quick grab my trees. You do your trees second if you want them to be darker brown, because in a second this is going to have a lot more brown ink on our blender pen. Blender pens come 3 to a set. They're just filled with clear fluid. And they just move this around. You can use them with the watercolor pencils. You can use them with our ink pads. You can't sit and move because it will pill the paper, but it's just enough to get the ink on and kind of move it around and get that paint feel. I'm not going to do the white because I just want it on there. I'm going to just put this on here. I'm going to kind of swirl it. And up close, it does, you can see the ink. It kind of gives it kind of that old paint feeling, like maybe if you were in somebody's cabin and they had an old painting on the wall. It kind of gives it that look because I pressed hard with my pencils, so they have a lot of lead on here. All right, so there we go. And you can see each of the deer have their own unique kind of brown, and they're different than the trees because we weren't working with very many ink colors. You could color it in with stamp pads and you could get all of the browns and all of the grays that you have out, but I wanted to kind of keep it simple. So, and it's effective. And see, with the pebbled path, it looks maybe a little bit more gray, and it's not a stark. I didn't want it to be stark, so it's very pretty. I'm gonna fold this in half and then see how much we need to trim this down. I'm gonna use my tiny little baby paper trimmer that we do not sell anymore. Every time I use it, a few people will ask where they can get it, but it was something that we had a long time ago. It's just really easy, and my big paper trimmer is still downstairs from camp. So you can see it's too big, but when you're using a large stamp, it's not that much too big, but I want to be able to see that ribbon because, you know, I base the colors of my card off of it. But when you start with a big stamp, it's easier to have it big and then trim it down. We can lose this whole top because the stamp set is designed that the top of it doesn't even have anything. Kind of evens it up for the bottom. And then I'm going to lose some of these trees over here too. And it just kind of gives me more background, and it will kind of center the ribbon a little bit when I add it down here. So when I did my first card, it was very late last night. I was up. I was getting ready for camp just hours before camp started. So I used the wood grain. It's one of my favorite things. I think last year I did the log cabin stamp that we had, and I ran it through. I like to color things and then put them through. It gives a little bit more of that faux painted feeling. But after I did it, I remembered that we have a new snowflake folder. So I think everybody at camp did use the snowflakes instead. So you can do it so the snow is softly falling and it's building up on the ground, or that it's a snowstorm and it's hitting the ground. It's kind of up to you. So I'm just gonna put this one in here, and then I'll have both ways to show you because my other one's done with the wood grain. And you can kind of decide. If you're doing it any other season, then I would do the wood grain. But if you're gonna do Christmas or winter, then you could choose the snowflakes if you like. I'm gonna stick this in here. I'm gonna just put it towards the bottom, then I'm gonna get a lot of snowflakes on my whole card. Because the further down you go, the more snowflakes you get. Isn't that fun? It just adds a little bit more interest to your card. Oh no, do I not have any adhesive up here? Surely I have some adhesive on my desk somewhere. This is what happens when you're gonna start. Yeah, I do. And half of your stuff's downstairs. I thought I would just film these before I carry all of the stuff that is from camp. A lot of my stuff is downstairs because when we cut for class, if you saw my Facebook video, we have to take it downstairs. We need to move simply because my business has outgrown our living space, which is never a good place to be in. So I don't want to move because I like my outside space, but our inside space, oh, I bet I don't have any scissors up here though, because I think all of my scissors may be downstairs. I have some blasts from the past scissors. They're for cutting ribbon. I mean, for cutting rubber. Back when we had to do that, they don't cut ribbon very well, but we're gonna make them work, guys. They really don't cut ribbon well at all, so we'll see how we go. It's another reason I don't film when I'm cutting a big class, because my stuff is all downstairs. It's a little frayed. It's okay, it's a rustic card. And then maybe I'll add, these are the embellishments that I currently have on the card. I'm going to show you in a second. I'm going to do different ones. I didn't use these because they used them on another project at camp, but I thought the silver ones, the black ones would even be pretty. Actually, any of these would be pretty. These are in the annual catalog. These are in the holiday catalog. These are just the adhesive back sparkle gems. I'm going to use the silver ones on these, and then you're going to have two different looks. You'll have two different folders. Maybe I am if I can get them out. I'm going to use these silver ones. The black would be pretty, but they used the black on a Halloween card that you won't get to see. They got some combinations of VIP and Try It stuff that was especially just for my in-person camp people. Nobody else will ever get to see it. Because like I said, I designed camp late last night, and it was easy because some of that stuff was already downstairs. So it was some special combinations. Okay, come on. They're stuck on the groove in my table. I like to do 5. Let's do that one right there. That one came off. Okay. I feel like I haven't stamped for a week, even though I just made these cards last night. So here's this one. Snowflake folder and those. Wouldn't the bluebird be cute? If you're doing any other season, and you can fit some other colors on there. And so here's the wood grain and this holiday catalog sequence. Really fun card. I love when you can keep it simple. If you are new to stamping, you just need one stamp pad, a packet of blender pens, the stamp, and then the watercolor pencils. And that combination can last you a year. Just swap in stamp sets. I would probably, if I was recommending it to a brand new stamper, I wouldn't get the Pebbled Path. I would go ahead and get a waterproof stamp set. You would need this, the Memento. It will just get you farther. But if you already have this, then add a fun color, because this is fun. Super fun. Lots of fun. I think I did a little bit, I always do a little bit better job coloring when I'm not on camera because I'm not trying to go fast. But I can fix this up in a second. Really, really fun. This will also go, you could cut the deer out and add it with the large forest stamp, the one I used. It was the very first stamp I stamped with out of the holiday catalog. If you still need a copy of that catalog, let me know. Otherwise, I will catch you back here later this week. Have a great one. Bye.